Regarding arousal, men are like blowtorches and women are like ovens. A blowtorch gets fiery really fast, whereas an oven takes time to heat up. In the sexual act of intercourse, it is the default for men to ejaculate fast, whereas, or orgasm, whereas for the woman, she takes a long time typically, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. It's just the opposites. Understanding this will unlock a lot of doors for you. Okay, welcome to section 2, the comfort and connection phase. She has to feel connected to you and feel comfortable being with you. Pretty basic. This is after the approach phase. Now you're moving the ball forward. Let's say you're in the same day, or maybe you've met her later for coffee or a drink, or maybe you see her another time and you continue the interaction. So let's get into this. The first section and the second section kind of spill into each other. Like I had mentioned, by far the hardest part is the approach phase, without question. I know how difficult it can be. And so once you get over that and get past that phase, then I think the rest of it's fairly smooth sailing in that we kind of have a really tight strategy for how to proceed. It's just that beginning, getting it off the right foot, getting it on the right foot initially, that's probably the most challenging part of this. And I think most guys would agree. So this is a really important thing to remember. And it runs through the entire course, and it's universal in relationships with the opposite sex. Mars acts, Venus attracts. So what this means essentially is you take an action or make a suggestion, and she has the veto power. If she says no or somehow rejects your proposal, you just calmly initiate another action or make another suggestion without showing any emotions, such as frustration, anger, annoyance, etc. If you do this, her trust in you will increase. You can take this to the bank. This is really important, and it's something that I never really fully understood, especially this part about her having veto power and how important that is for her. That's something you need to keep in mind throughout your entire experience with any woman. And get this solidified in your mind. I think it's probably the most important topic slide here in the entire thing, really. I think it's the core essence of this whole course. Okay? And Mars, you've heard maybe the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Well, Mars in mythology represents basically the male energy, the masculine energy. Venus represents feminine energy, female energy. And because this is so important, I'm probably going to repeat myself a lot on a lot of these core topics because I want you to solidify it in your mind. When you take an action or make a suggestion, however small or large, really small is fine. It doesn't have to be anything huge. This is what we could call calm, assertive leading. And the woman's always going to have veto power, and that's what they really want. In the beginning phases especially, you want to get her thinking and imagining about pleasant, romantic things, her favorite things. You do not want to get her logical brain involved. You do not want to talk about work, her work, your work. You do not want to talk about politics. You do not want to talk about religion. These are no-nos. Now, in time, you may discover these things, but at the beginning especially, it's just too fragile. Anything at all could be off-putting. You just don't know. So avoid those topics completely and get her imagination in the right direction. This is a form of leading. All of this is a form of leading, taking action, even though it's in small steps. And that's really the best way. Because if you lead in small steps, you're giving her time to decide whether to accept or reject your proposal. I think most guys take rejection too hard, and I understand why. It can be very soul-destroying. But once you understand this concept that I'm talking about right now, Mars acts, Venus attracts, and especially allowing her to have veto power and understanding that just the nature of it. And you know what? That's going to be the way it is for the rest of the relationship, however it lasts, however long it lasts. And then if you meet someone else, it's going to be that way with them. I used to not think this way. I would get miffed if my proposal of whatever it was spurned. I would get upset or angry, maybe end up getting into an argument. Didn't realize that this was really the case, is that having veto power makes them feel more feminine. It's a real big secret. Here's a good quote by Desmond Morris, author of The Naked Ape. He's extremely, I think he's not even alive anymore, but he was an extremely high-level professor of evolutionary biology and wrote many books. He's from the UK. Tone of voice in human interactions is more important than what is spoken. The tone. So you want to be conscious of your vocal tone as well. Doesn't mean you have to have a booming bass voice or anything like that. It's just another layer to this to be tuned into, because guess what? She's tuned into it. It's all about vibration. Now, even though in the last section I talked at length about giving jabs, which was really just, you're not supposed to use a lot of jabs, just maybe one or two when you're starting to do this to try to create that spark. It's okay to make her feel cherished, to notice her details. You know, like in conversation, just kind of like matter-of-factly, instead of some gushing compliment. You might notice that she has some cool shoes on, or some cool earrings, or a watch, or something. It's okay to notice the details, what specifically you find attractive about her. And when we're talking to women, interacting with them, we're learning to be really good listeners, okay? Listening. I'm sure you've heard this before. I don't know if you've thought of it this way, though. When you listen, what you're essentially doing is you're connecting your consciousness with hers via presence. Living in the moment. Does that make any sense? I think it's going to make more sense as we continue. And like I had mentioned before, to create presence, you really got to let go of your thinking mind, which is very hard for guys. Guys are stuck in their head. They constantly are trying to figure things out and plan things, and it's just hardwired into us. But when we're doing this kind of a romantic adventure, and interacting with women and wanting to win and be successful with them in one way or another, you've got to learn to be present. You've got to learn to be a good listener. So you just listen to her talk. You don't have to make a lot of comments, and you don't have to give her any solutions. That's a big mistake that guys make as well. You don't have to try to fix her. You just want to listen. But it can be tough because it's just our natural MO to offer suggestions and solutions. But really, they just want to be listened to. Because remember we said before, when men are stressed, well, they may not be stressed, but they like to go into their cave occasionally. And, women are different. They like to talk things out. They like to, even if they're not stressed, it's part of how they connect. So like when women talk to other women, there's a connection there. There's an emotional connection, and that's really powerful for them. What is missing, though, is sexual tension. So that's where you come in. You can actually emulate the connection factor that happens between women when they talk by being a good listener, making good points or follow-up comments, not trying to fix her, not trying to come up with a solution. And you as the man, if she's straight, and considering you at least as someone she wants to talk to some more, well then you've got that ace card of sexual tension. Most gals don't sit around and talk about the deep issues of life. They just get together to talk and to connect. And it's all lighthearted, typically. So remember that. Check your mind at the door. Come back to the moment. I'm going to help you to learn to get into the moment more in the section 4. But just let's follow along for now.